afternoon, and thank you for joining us in another episode of Bridging the Badge. I'm Officer Rodriguez, and I'm a member of our Community Outreach Unit. On today's episode of Bridging the Badge, we're going to get a chance to talk to our chiefs, and we're going to get a chance to answer questions and concerns that the community have brought up. So we reached out through all social media platforms, and we wanted to ask to see what topics you want to discuss. We wanted to see if you had any questions, maybe something as to why did you become a police officer, or what are some of the things that are occurring in our city and what plans do we have for them. So today we're going to have Chief Jeremy Story. We also have Deputy Chief Eric Urenda, and we also have Deputy Chief Sean Mullen here with us. We're going to help answer some of these questions that we've obtained through all social media platforms. All right, so this is exactly what Bridging the Badge is for. Bridging the Badge was actually something that Chief Story brought up, and he proposed as a way to get a chance to build better relationship between the police department and the general public, right? So what a better way to do this than to be able to get a chance to know our chiefs a little bit better. Some of the questions that we obtain are going to talk a little bit more about their personal life and what it is that they do outside of work. And we're also going to discuss some topics as far as what plans and ideas they have, not only for the police department, but for the community. So anything that you would like to add, Chief, in regards to Bridging the Badge and what your goal was for this platform?
Yeah, so first of all, Officer Rodriguez, thank you for having us here. And they got me back.
Yes.
I pitched this idea, and to give credit, I pitched this idea over a year ago now. And I gave them kind of a general concept, and they have taken it and run with it and made it far better than I ever envisioned. So I appreciate you and the entire team doing what you've done with it. But here I am, I guess, to actually be a part of it on the other end.
And I will say that right now, you get to see four of us, in front of this camera. There's a whole team that goes into this. Our community outreach unit has done a great job, and there's a lot of other members within the city that are helping us. Obviously, we're not the best producers. We're police officers, but we're definitely doing the best that we can to build this bridge, right? So is there anything that you can maybe share with us to introduce yourself?
I'll keep it short. First, my name is Jeremy Story. I'm the police chief. I've been with this department for about 18 years. I grew up in policing in this department. I've been very fortunate to do dang near everything you can at this department. And I'm very grateful for those opportunities, and it's helped me become what I believe is a well-rounded police officer. And I'm just grateful to be able to be in this position and to represent and serve this city.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Deputy Chief Urenda.
My name is Eric Urenda. I'm the Deputy Chief of Operations. I've been with Las Cruces Police Department for about 18 years now as well. I love my job, and thank you for this opportunity to be here.
Absolutely. Deputy Chief Mullen.
Hello, everyone. Sean Mullen, Deputy Chief here at Las Cruces Police Department. I've been with the department about 15 years now. And again, grateful for the opportunity to be here and looking forward to what we have in store today.
Awesome. So just like we mentioned, we reached out through all social media platforms. We wanted to get a chance to hear from the community any questions or topics that we needed to discuss. So we were able to obtain a few questions. And the first question for you, Deputy Chief Mullen: when will busting drug dealers become more of a priority than easy revenue production? That's one of the questions that we got.
So what I think the answer for this question is that we already have a working model in place, and we are working hard to bust drug dealers every single day. So, and it's not only us, it's law enforcement in Doña County. So we have a partnership with Doña County Sheriff's Office, New Mexico State Police, and Las Cruces Police Department through our Metro Narcotics organization. And they're officers from all of our organizations who work hard every day to really target the drug traffickers and the drug dealers in Doña County. And that is the major step that we're taking towards combating those efforts and pushing forward with improving the quality of life for our residents here in Las Cruces and Doña.
Perfect. Thank you. This next one's going to be for you, Chief Story. So as the country continues to lose trust in law enforcement, in what specific ways will LCPD rebuild trust with the community and individuals?
See that we've got some softballs right off the bat.
Yes.
That's a good question. Well, this is part of it. Doing things like this help, I think, rebuild the trust. It makes that connection. It builds the bridge, as the name implies, between us and the community. A lot of the work that community outreach does is part of that process. The special events, connecting with our kids, our families, even those that are at risk, or even those that are already involved in the criminal justice system, and having them see a different side of policing. But ultimately, it's really each individual officer that becomes that bridge and builds trust. So we have over 150,000 calls per service. That's hundreds of thousands of interactions with citizens and visitors and businesses. And each one of those is an opportunity to build trust. And it's also an opportunity to break down trust. And that's where we really make it or break it, is how we treat and interact with our citizens every day.
Yeah, absolutely. So I can tell you, as members of community outreach unit, we definitely do our best to try to focus on problems that are affecting the community, quality of life. We definitely do our best to host public events, and that's something that we try to share through social media as well. So we definitely try our best, but it's not just community outreach, like Chief Story mentioned, it's the entire police department, including our civilian staff. Any chance we get a chance to interact with the public, that's a good opportunity to build that relationship. All right. Deputy Chief Urenda, the next question is, I would like you to discuss and inform the citizens of plans underway to try to increase your officers, specifically with street patrol and traffic enforcement. Really is getting bad on the streets, and without street and road police presence, people will continue to speed, run red lights, and stop signs.
This is a great question, Officer Rodriguez. And I would like to tell everybody that in addition to an ongoing lateral hiring process that we also have a basic academy that we graduated 10 cadets in December. So that'll increase our numbers out on the streets. However, we do understand that depending on new hires is not the way to go. We need to act now. We need to do what best we can to improve our city and our streets out there. So what we have done is, in addition to this, is we structured the way we staff our operations, our patrol officers on a daily basis throughout the week, so that we can ensure that the majority of that we have a substantial amount of officers out on the streets on our busiest days. So you can see that now, started back in July, earlier July, and it's ongoing as of now. Most importantly, one more thing that I would like to announce, and I know Chief Story has mentioned this in the past in the previous interviews, is we also have a mass joint project that we're coordinating with State Police and several of our federal entities nearby in the city. And together, from starting next week, we're going to continue through November. We're going to do a mass project where you'll see a significant amount of law enforcement out there. Lack of better terms, take back our city, making sure our city goes back to the way we wanted it to be.
Absolutely. And that's something that obviously we're definitely looking forward to. Our unit and other specialty units are going to get a chance to participate in this. So something that definitely we're looking forward. I'm sure the public will as well. And this question, just in general, for anybody who'd like to answer, where are you from originally? What is your background? And how many years have you been in law enforcement? I know you guys talked about in regards to how many years you've been in law enforcement, but anything that you can share as far as where you're originally from, or a little bit more about your background?
I'll start. I lived in Phoenix till I was 12. I moved here when I was 12. Went to finish middle school and went to high school here. Graduated from Mayfield High School. And so this is home to me. I joined the Marine Corps at 17, right out of high school. And then when I came back, I became a police officer, and I've been here, like I said, for about 18 years.
Awesome. Anyone else that would like to share?
Go ahead, next on this one. I moved to Las Cruces when I was 4 years old. I've been living here ever since. I graduated from Las Cruces High School, so I'm a Bulldog, I'm a Trojan. I should have worn red and green, blue and green in this case. But I've been with LCPD for 18 years. I have an amazing wife, 4 babies. When I say babies, not really babies. One's in college, one's a freshman in college, one is a senior in high school. I was a 6th grader in middle school and a 4th grader in elementary. So yeah.
They're always going to be our babies. I got you, and they're always going to be our babies, regardless of how old they are. So, Deputy Chief Mullen.
We're on the East Coast. Moved here again at a young age, like everyone, DC Urenda here, and I as well went to Mayfield High School, so children start 2 to 1. No, I like I said, I moved here at a young age. As far as after graduating high school, I attended Doñana County Community College and worked in the police department at 19. So
awesome. Well, let me ask you, what inspired you to become a police officer in the first place?
Well, like most, it's a cliche answer, at least in our profession, is because you get into this job because you want to help, and that's what brings you joy. That's what drives you. It was either this or aircraft pilot or a couple other cool ideas, you know what I mean, that you had. But this was available to me. I had actually seen some. I shouldn't say seen, but had some mentors in law enforcement that I'd interacted with at a young age in high school, and it shaped my future, I would say. And that's when I decided to apply for LCPD, and here I am.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing that. And I will say that's something that I personally did myself. I had somebody who gave me advice and said, hey, why don't you go to ride along and see if this is something that you do want to do, right? So that's exactly what I did. I was able to come to do a ride along here with the Las Cruces Police Department, and I absolutely fell in love with that. I said, yeah, this is definitely what I want to do. So, DC Urenda, Is there an answer as to why you became a police officer?
Yes, it's actually, but my wife and my oldest daughter. I grew up, I'm pretty sure like every other citizen around my age here in Las Cruces, I believe I grew up in a very safe Las Cruces. I love the small town feel. I love the city. I remember riding bikes all over town, all over the place, and felt safe. So when I had my firstborn, she was a baby, and my wife, I knew I wanted to start a family, and I wanted to make sure that the community they grew up in is just as safe as the one I grew up in.
Perfect.
Chief Story.
It's somewhat similar. Like I said, I joined the Marine Corps right out of high school. And my oldest, I have 3 kids. My oldest, my daughter, was born when I was in Iraq. So she was 5 months old when I got back. And it was obviously very difficult, and there's some complications that happened. And so that was difficult. My wife was pregnant with my 3rd child, and I was slated to go to Afghanistan. So at that point, obviously, the decision was my family or stay in the Marine Corps. So the compromise with my wife was, I'll get out of the Marine Corps, of course, family first, but I'm going to be a cop, because service is just something that I wanted to do. I'm very grateful for how things worked out. Obviously, I wouldn't take it back for anything, but that's how I ended up here.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing. All right, so we're going to move on to the next question. Chief Story, what short-term goals do you have for the city in the next 1 to 3 years? And how long do you think this is actually going to be able to carry out?
Well, there's a lot to that. I'll make it as brief as I can. We have a lot of goals for the department. We've seen a lot of positive movement already in the city and within the department. First and foremost, we want to address crime. Crime is much higher than I would like, or our officers would like, or our citizens would like. So several different ways to address that, but we talked about some of the operations and taking ownership of the crime and doing everything within our power. Our real-time crime center will be starting early next year, while Park Ranger starting early next year. Continuing with that professional training momentum that we already have. And so hopefully part of that is getting our own training facility, a joint training facility, so we can take our training to the next level, which impacts everything we do as a police department. And so I think we're on a good path, but we just want to continue that and push it even harder.
Absolutely. Do you have any long-term goals that you'd be willing to share in the next 3 to 5 years?
You obviously, and really part of the short-term goals will be a CLIA accredited, hopefully within the next 12 to 18 months. We've been accredited by the Mexico Municipal League for a long time, over a decade at this point, but that's kind of the next step. And then long-term, I think, we would like to see a new station, which I think will again help us become a more modern police department and really grow into the department that we are. We kind of stuck with the 1994 Las Cruces Police Department, which is a very different department in city. And I'd like to see kind of the progress we've seen with our businesses and our residents in the police department continue and take it to the next level.
Yeah, absolutely. And I will say that's definitely something that we've seen, especially these last few months. Just the amount of support that we've gotten from the community is just amazing. So we definitely appreciate that. And I think the people in this office or in this building will definitely appreciate maybe something a little bit newer. So awesome. All right. So let me go to the next question. So DC Urenda, if you could urge each citizen in Las Cruces to do one thing to help reduce crime, what would it be?
This is another great question, Officer Rodriguez. The truth is, we only have 186 commissioned officers in the Las Cruces Police Department. However, we have over 100,000 citizens in Las Cruces. We need to work together. We need their 100,000 pairs of eyes out there on the streets, being our eyes and ears, calling in criminal activity, being the best eyewitnesses possible they can be when they do notice criminal activity, and even the little things that make drastic changes, to include locking up their vehicles, not leaving firearms in your vehicles. Currently, that's a huge problem we have right now. And what's worse about that, it's an easy problem because a lot of these break-ins are unlocked vehicles. The number of firearms stolen in the last 2 years, I believe, we're over 500, and Chief Story can attest to that. But it's unbelievable. So just something as simple as locking your vehicles goes a long ways. Being the best eyes and ears out there for us in the streets. We can definitely work together to make it.
So I think it goes back to you see something, say something. Something as simple as locking your door could definitely help prevent burglaries and then other crimes in the future. So absolutely, please secure all firearms inside your residence in a safe location. Please refrain from leaving your firearms in vehicles, because unfortunately, like DC Urenda mentioned, that is something that we see very often. A lot of the times vehicles are left unlocked and the firearms are left in plain sight. So that pertains also to valuables. I will say, as far as the police department goes, we are posting signs as well. You normally see them throughout convenience stores, different locations, at apartment complexes, where we remind people, go to lock their vehicle, hide their belongings, and take their keys with them. So that's something small that you can definitely do. And if you see something, say something. All right. So this is a little bit of an interesting question. We want to see what preference we have. If we are a dog person, a cat person, or both.
Well, my wife's definitely an animal lover, so I have several of each: dogs, cats, and 2 lizards. So I was a canine handler. I love dogs, but I have some pretty cool cats too.
Do you see it in that?
I have a little funny story on this. I'm a dog person. I always told my wife when we got together, we're gonna get the biggest, most best looking dog ever. I ended up with the Yorkie, and then another Yorkie, and then another Yorkie, and a Pomeranian, and I finally got a Golden Retriever. But yeah, my kids want a cat really, really bad. I've already said no a million times, but just like the Yorkies and the big dog, I know it's gonna eventually
Oh
happen.
yeah, you're gonna give in.
I'm not the boss at home.
DC Mullen.
Grew up with cats. However, when I was able to get to have my own house, my own place, my wife and I, we've been dog owners, German Shepherds and pugs. So
Nice. Yeah, that was a good question. I think it helps show a different side of you as well. So, what are some hobbies, or what are some of the things that you like to do when you're not working?
I'll lead out with that. So when I'm not in the office, I enjoy family time. I think all 3 of us and a lot of our officers, every officer in this building commits a lot of time to this organization and to the city and our jobs. But when I get the opportunity to be home with my kids and my wife, I'm there. It's what I enjoy. It brings me happiness and peace. And my kids are young, and so they're always doing something that's crazy or new or interesting. And so we're making a lot of great memories and hopefully capturing a lot of good pictures and videos to remind them of when they're graduating high school or getting married, and we'll be able to pull those out. But spending family time, working on vehicles, kids sports, gym, those are my hobbies.
Yeah, kids sports will definitely keep you busy. You see that?
I got a ton of hobbies. I guess I'll mention a couple just for every single one of my loved ones. My wife, we like going to make it a point to go at least try to go on one day. We'll go with some of our close friends of ours on Fridays or on Saturdays and that's a great hobby and something I enjoy doing with my wife. With my kids, my oldest, she's finished her volleyball club career, so we're gonna have to find another hobby, but she loves to watch baseball, so hoping that maybe I can travel with her to some good baseball games. My son will wake up 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock every morning, go hit the gym, loves to work out, he's prepping for this upcoming baseball season, so he's excited about that. My next one, my middle school daughter, she's an amazing athlete, extremely intelligent. She loves basketball, and that's my primary sport. So I love watching her play sports and going to her practices. And then the baby did not touch basketball at all or any ball, but she's an amazing gymnast. So I was spending time at her gymnastics classes, and she'll be competing this year. So
That's
looking forward to that.
Yeah, best of luck to her. I will say gymnastics is something totally different, right? It's definitely considered a sport. I know my daughter's in gymnastics now. She just recently started a few months ago, and very skilled people, very skilled athletes for sure.
Yep.
Yeah, I echo what he says. I mean, we all spend way too much time working, but when I'm not working, spending time with my family, my wife and I have date night every Friday, the highlight of my week. Spending time with my kids. I love shooting. I do competition shooting. My oldest son does that with me. Or being out in nature is very refreshing for me. It helps deal with a lot of stress.
Awesome. Yeah, it's definitely important. And I know there's a question coming up ahead where we're going to talk about how we deal with stress and what we're doing for officers. So we'll address that in a minute. What do you like best about Las Cruces? Is there anything that you can mention that's something that sticks out to you that you just say this is probably one of the best things about Las Cruces?
I mean, there's a lot of things. I'm going to say the Oregon Mountains. I love the Oregon Mountains. No other place can claim they have them. And that's the one thing that brings me a lot of comfort is just seeing our beautiful mountains.
Absolutely. Do you see it in that?
I don't know if I can mention a specific place other than Angeles Mexican food. I love that. Lorenzo's. I love Lorenzo's Italian food, but realistically, just the small town feel. I like the small town. I love our city. And my family growing up always says you got to move to Denver, you got to move somewhere else, somewhere big, so forth. I can handle baseball tournaments, volleyball tournaments, basketball tournaments for 3 days max, and I'm ready to go home. Yeah, small little Las Cruces. I still love this town.
I agree. DC Mullen?
I'm a mix of both. I love the small town feel. My wife and I appreciate that. We want to raise our children in this kind of atmosphere. And I also love looking at the mountains every day on my way home. That's a wonderful way to de-stress on the end of the day and just relax in the drive home. And I agree.
Yeah.
Nothing else like them.
All right, so we're gonna change things up a little bit. I will say this next one is a question for Chief Story. And the question is, why do we not have a bait car to stop these so-called Kia boys? They're constantly posting on Instagram and now on YouTube about the crimes they commit. What is being done to stop them from stealing these cars? Have there been any arrests made? Any arrests made?
Yeah, so first of all, with the bait car, now we have an agency partner in Indiana County that has a bait car. And so that's an option. And we run operations. The problem with bait cars is there's not a lot of data on the effectiveness of bait cars. They don't tend to be very effective. So I'm not against using that resource, but we already have one here. So it wouldn't make a whole lot of sense for us to have one. As far as specifically the issue with stolen vehicles in that group, we made a lot of arrests, especially over the last couple of years. And we've luckily seen our stolen vehicles drop last year and so far year to date this year. So we're seeing some progress there. There are other issues at play, juvenile justice, and issues with that system and other things to do with our justice system that we don't necessarily have control over. But we are making arrests and we'll continue to make arrests.
And I think it goes back to this operation that we have upcoming. It's going to target these specific type of crimes and others that we're constantly seeing throughout the city. All right, so the next question, DC Urenda, what is Mesilla able to do that Las Cruces isn't in regards to crime and the homeless?
Well, this is an interesting question there, Officer Rodriguez. The truth of the fact is that there isn't anything more or less they can do than us. We live in New Mexico. We follow the same state law. So I'm not sure if I understand the question correctly entirely, but it's just, we're still in New Mexico. So
no, and I think that's probably safe to say, right? There's not necessarily a difference where we produce the same thing. We're still falling under the same New Mexico laws and rules.
Yeah, and I would just add, obviously, there is a big difference between the village of Mesilla, that community, and Las Cruces, size-wise, geography, how small it is, makes it a lot easier. Las Cruces is 77 square miles. So it's a large jurisdiction geographically, which has challenges because we can't be everywhere. So they have some advantages in that area because it's so condensed.
Thank you. All right. So what drives you to go to work every day besides the fact that it's your job and you need to be here? What's something that drives you to come to work and motivates you?
One, the officers, seeing the work they're doing right now. I sit behind a desk or go to meetings most of the time. And so they're out there still doing the hard work. So that's part of it. The other thing is I get to see success. We see a lot of challenges and bad stuff, but we also see a lot of wins. And those wins definitely keep you going.
Awesome. DC Urenda, would you like to comment on that?
yeah, I'm gonna follow up with what Chief Story mentioned. Officers are the main thing. I love the people who work with, from bottom cadets all the way up to our Chief Story. In addition to that, I mentioned it earlier already, my family. I want to try to make it a better place for my family, of course. I'm also very goal oriented. Throughout my entire career, I've always set goals, and I made it a point to make sure I achieve those goals. So there are many goals I have in mind, and coming to work every day helps me get a little bit closer to those goals, and overall, again, make a community better. So.
Absolutely. DC Mullen, I apologize. I know we're probably going to echo some of the stuff, but anything that you can add?
I'm going to do exactly that. I'm going to echo it and say we're all here for the people who work within these walls and for the people of this city. We wouldn't be here if that were the reason for anything other than that. This job, as difficult days, 2024 has been a roller coaster and a hard one for this department, this agency. A lot of firsts and a lot of not good firsts. But we made it through, and we keep pushing forward because, like DC said, we have goals, and we have, an end goal of where we want to see our city and where we want to see our department, and we're pretty relentless in chasing those down. So we'll keep at it.
And with these goals, are there any additional resources that you would like to see in Las Cruces that can maybe help you achieve these goals?
We're on the way there. We've had support, not only from our businesses, but from the city as well, and other departments within the city. We are moving forward with our real-time crime center, as Chief mentioned earlier. That's a big thing in making our community safer. It offers us an opportunity to kind of like DC Urenda said, use resources that are already existing in the city and to try and provide real-time updates to officers responding to call and keep us safer as a whole. Some other resources that we could use are more officers. As DC Urenda mentioned earlier, we have 186 right now currently commissioned, but we are authorized 220. So our vacancy rate is significant right now. So we're going to keep pushing forward with our academy. We mentioned that we are graduating 10 or intend to graduate 10 in December. And we'll happily take them and welcome them into the commissioned officer life and use that resource on the street. But we can also look at improving other areas such as East State Hospital for mental health here in Las Cruces. That could be a big help in keeping our community safer and dealing with some of the mental health and substance abuse problems we face in our area. There's a lot of things that we can do, and we're working towards those goals.
Awesome. And I believe we are still hiring for this upcoming academy in March of 2025. Is that correct?
I think we open up, or we're planning on opening up early.
So we do have an academy coming up March of 2025 now. So, all right, Chief Story, what is the biggest issue you believe we face as a community here in Las Cruces?
The biggest issue is crime. I don't know if you see the poster, or when it zooms back up, you see the poster with the Pillion principles. When modern policing was created, the foundation was the belief that the police exist primarily, or the foundation of policing is to prevent crime and to reduce crime. And so our crime rates are significantly higher than the national average. That is the biggest issue we face. And that's tied to many other things. It's tied to economic development and the growth of our businesses and the health of our businesses. So everything is related to everything else. We address crime, we help kind of everybody.
And I think that also addresses the fear of crime, right? So not necessarily if something happened to you where you were a victim, just that fear of crime where you don't feel safe, or maybe something did happen and now you go home and you're having to check your cameras back at your business, something like that. So absolutely. And I think we're working on reducing that crime by all these resources that we're trying to implement and different goals that we have through operations. All right. So let me see. I'm going to the next question. What can the community do to support and contribute to a solution?
Well, the community's been doing a lot already. Like you said, 2024 has been a very difficult year for our agency and for the city. But we've also seen a lot of support from the city, from our businesses, from our residents. And us coming together like this, like we have, is a big first step to do that. And so continue that support, get involved in your neighborhoods, business associations, neighborhood watches. Those are all things you can do to take an active role in reducing crime and making Las Cruces better.
Perfect. Thank you. All right. And the next question, what is the department doing to help support an officer's mental health? How do they ensure that an officer is mentally capable of continued calm and correct decisions under high pressure situations?
So I'll start it. I think traditionally law enforcement has not done a great job in this area, and we've been getting better over time. That includes us at LCPD. So we've done a lot over the last 10 years, and we've done a lot over the last few years. And we've added a lot of resources. Policing has only gotten more difficult at the same time. So doing this job is hard. It takes a toll on you mentally, physically, your relationships. And so my stance is we need to do everything that we can to support our officers, to support their families, and give them all the tools to take advantage of to make sure that they're mentally capable, they're physically capable, they're emotionally capable in all these areas. And we've done that. And DC Mullen's been a huge part in putting into place our officer wellness program. And I'm sure you have some additional comments on that.
So we recently hired a police wellness coordinator for that program specifically, but we've also made a lot of moves to try and, like Chief said, treat it from a well-rounded standpoint. So we have a financial wellness program. We have, the physical wellness that we talk about. We recently implemented with this new rotation, 30 minutes of physical fitness at the end of everyone's shift to try and de-stress and relax. There's studies behind it. The emotional intelligence behind it all. And it's really, it's impressive to see how it's starting to work its way through the organization. So it's not just one specific area. We're coming at it from different angles, and from a mental health concern, which was the original, root of it. It plays into it in different ways, but we do have outside companies that officers can reach out to for counseling, to speak with someone. We have people that we have internally that we have a peer support group that we use. If someone needs to talk to somebody, that's also an option. So we've taken several steps to make sure that if that comes up and that someone sees it, myself, another officer, a coworker, we can keep an eye on each other and look out for each other and make sure that we're getting help.
I will say that's definitely a huge culture change, right? Because like we mentioned in the past, that wasn't necessarily something that we would address or have a conversation about. And I think here as a department, we've definitely changed for the better. And we see these improvements happening relatively quickly. And I obviously thank you guys because we're definitely going in the right direction. We're not, you hear Chief Story says all the time, we're not there yet, but we're definitely going in the right direction. And so we definitely appreciate the support, not only for us, but for the family as well.
And one other thing, I mean, we started doing annual wellness checks back with Chief Dominguez, and those have, I think, caught on at this point, and we've gotten a ton of good feedback from officers on, like, collectively when they aggregate all the information on things we can do to be better. And the other part is stigma. One of the biggest challenges we have in law enforcement, and I think across the board with mental health, is reducing that stigma so people know that it's okay to get help. Yes. And I've seen huge changes in that, where people are willing to talk to other officers about their struggles and how they got help, and that it's okay to get help. And I think that's, again, we're not there yet, but we have come a long way.
Absolutely. And I think that's one of the things that kind of reminds the community that officers are human too, right? We definitely feel, we definitely can relate with some of those issues, but I think just having that opportunity to say, hey, I may need help with this, or so-and-so needs help with that, it goes back to just being there for each other so that we can better serve the community. So awesome. All right, so we have one more question. How are we approaching homelessness, mental illness, and drug addiction? How does the frontline influence overall rehabilitation? And can we make it less of a revolving door?
I could talk for hours about that. I won't. I'll spare everyone that. But there's a lot of things that are happening. The reality is these are such complex issues that it's going to take a very well thought out, holistic approach. And it's going to be a number of things that are going to put a dent in this problem. We've seen fentanyl hit our community, and if there's anything that's had there's one thing that's had the biggest impact, negative impact, it's been fentanyl. There's other factors. COVID obviously wasn't helpful, but fentanyl has really destroyed our community. We've seen homelessness increase. We've seen crime increase. We've seen overdoses skyrocket in Las Cruces. And the way you deal with that is by being thoughtful and well-rounded. It's going to take both sides of the coin. It's going to take the carrot and the stick. It's going to take compassion, but it's also going to take accountability. And there's a lot of programs that accomplish that. I think there's guys for us to follow from other communities, not just in the United States, that have done a better job of handling it. And when you look at all those, there's differences, but the one commonality is that balanced approach between having compassion and empathy, but also holding people accountable and pushing them towards positive change.
Absolutely. And I think that's also going to come with treatment that might be mandated, right?
So in certain circumstances, yeah, and especially for people who are committing criminal acts and just won't seek the treatment on their own.
Perfect. Thank you, Chief. All right, so the next question is, at the end of the day, you're all people and have a life before and after work. How do you separate the two?
It's difficult, and I've struggled with this my whole career, ups and downs. A lot of grace from my wife and my family, thank God. But doing those hobbies, remembering that there is life outside this work, not losing that connection to other people that are outside this job that aren't cops, I think is a positive thing. I do things like pole plunging. I do things like shooting that de-stress. Finding what works for you and making sure you stick to it. I think when we're the most stressed, we have the tendency to not do the things we need to do to de-stress. We have to fight that.
All right, thank you. All right, so DC Urenda, how can we get more of the community to come out and become involved in addressing the concerns we are seeing?
Officer Rodriguez, as mentioned earlier, I think by being our eyes and ears out there, that's huge. That can go a very long way. This is a good question because we are working currently on a volunteer program that we're hoping to start up in the near future. We'll have multiple opportunities for the public to be able to volunteer and assist us in numerous ways, whether it be helping patrol the parks, numerous sections in our department, things of that nature, and that could go a very long way as well. I have spoken with Chief Story, and we open to have a Citizens Academy as well. Possibly not until January or February, but when that is posted, that's another opportunity for the public to learn more about how we do things, why we do certain things, and how they can get more involved in helping work together to continue to make our community better.
Perfect. Thank you.
So also things just like this, you know what I mean, reaching out and submitting questions about concerns you have and giving input. We have a community outreach team who works hard in our community every day. We have National Night Out coming up.
We do.
So we have a lot of opportunities.
Yeah. So, and this is a perfect example, and DC Mullen is absolutely correct. Things like this is where we're going to get a chance to build that connection, bridge that gap between the two, and become one, so that we can do the same thing that we're trying to accomplish, which is reduce crime. So with these opportunities that are coming up in the near future, we hope that you can definitely get involved and see how you can participate with these opportunities that are coming up.
August 6th.
August 6th?
Next Tuesday, yeah.
Yes.
Next Tuesday.
All right. So the next question is, there was a comment where somebody said, Young's Park feels unsafe for my family and myself. How can we change that?
So unfortunately, it's not just Young Park, but for Young Park, it's Lions Park, Apodaca Park, Pioneer Women's Park. It's a lot of our parks. And I hear it all the time. I don't feel safe taking my kids there. And they're not necessarily wrong. There's reasons behind that. So that being said, we have a lot planned for early next year. We have 3 park ranger positions that we're hoping to hire beginning of January, get them trained and out there. In a couple months, they're gonna have to do some training. They're gonna be patrolling our parks. They'll have the ability to take some enforcement action. We're gonna have some investment for real-time crime center that's specific to our parks. So we have some resources there to help make them safer. And as DC Urenda mentioned, part of our volunteer program we want to implement is volunteers in our parks that will help supplement the park ranger. They won't have the enforcement authority, but there'll be extra eyes and ears that can help us make sure that they're safer for our families. And we have to do that.
Do we have an idea of when these park rangers are going to come on with our department?
So we can hire in January. The plan is to have them hire January, and then they'll do their training and they'll get out there.
Perfect. Awesome. Thank you. All right. So if it seems like the community blames the police for everything, how do you respond to these complaints, and how do you highlight the truth?
And a couple of things. One, I will say that there's been, again, so much support for us that helps counter some of the negativity. The police have been asked to do more and more over the last, several decades. But every time we have a new societal problem, it falls on the police to try to fix it, or at least in large part fix it. And, that adds to the burden we already experienced. Now we're human beings and we do make mistakes. So obviously we're not perfect. Sometimes the criticism is absolutely correct and we need to do better on certain things. But a lot of times it's frustration with crime and everything else, and we can't unfortunately prevent all the crimes. And so I think the way you counter that is by doing stuff like this. It's me getting out, we're doing other town halls. The more we interact with citizens, we can hear their valid concerns, we can give them feedback, give them what we believe to be factual information and the truth. And what you often find is that you come to kind of a mutual understanding. You understand their perspective better, they understand the police's perspective better, and then we all end up better for it. We do our job better, they become advocates for us, and we see it make the community better.
Yeah, and I will say, as far as our community outreach side, sometimes when we get presented with an issue, we believe we might have the solution to the problem when we could be wrong. All right, but sometimes it takes just that, going out to the community, talking to the people that live there, and just getting a chance to listen to how they believe it should be solved. We work together, we find something that works, and hopefully help get rid of the problem. So absolutely, we understand that having these interactions, having these relationships and the communication with the public is going to turn around and help us, again, reduce crime overall. All right, so DC Mullen, we have a question here that says, what action is being taken about teens in our city who are breaking into cars and stealing them and guns? It says here, and just running a marker in the city. I understand that they are children, but they're committing adult crimes. Are they being punished? How are we holding them accountable? And are their parents being taken accountable as well?
So we've hit on it a little bit earlier, but one of the major things we can do to stop this is removing firearms from vehicles, specifically on this, removing firearms from vehicles and making sure we keep our doors locked. Now that doesn't, stop the fact that these kids are out doing things that they should not be doing, right? Criminal behavior to that degree is criminal behavior and definitely needs to be addressed. And we are addressing it. I can't tell you how many times we come in and the notes from the night before or a briefing that we get says, juvenile arrested. And unfortunately, that's not always the case on some of the harder, more severe crimes we see. There's a fine line on what we can physically detain a juvenile for. So there's a matrix that comes into it, and we have to see if we meet a certain threshold about the degree of crime and other things that other factors with that, excuse me. But ultimately, as a police department, we are doing what we need to do. If a crime is committed and we have probable cause to prove that crime was committed, we are arresting and charging that individual, adult or juvenile, with that crime. Now, the justice process that plays out is out of our hands a lot of time. And but if there's probable cause, excuse me, to charge these kids with, like what was mentioned, breaking into a vehicle and stealing a firearm, we are doing it.
Absolutely.
In addition to that, I would like to emphasize and give a lot of kudos to our patrol officers and our street crime units that are out there on a daily basis, despite the fact that we do have those struggles that DC Mullen just mentioned, because the fact that they are juveniles, certain parameters that have to follow, some restrictions that we have with juveniles, and can reassure the community that our officers are out there. Patrol officers have become very proficient in the identification and apprehension and recovery of stolen vehicles. And I'm very proud to say that statistically, we are at -7% when it comes to correcting that negative 7% of auto thefts up to date, year to date, as of last month. So they are doing an amazing job. Our street crimes unit has developed numerous cases against several individuals. They are gathering the necessary intel and evidence to proceed with potential additional charges in the future. So they're doing the best job they can do, and guarantee that slowly but surely working together, it's going to improve.
Absolutely. And we do see that all the time where they are going out there making the best with what the resources they have. And like you said, just gathering the right information and effect these arrests if necessary. So huge kudos to them, absolutely. And DC Urenda, there's a question here where they're referring to panhandling. It says, are there any actions currently being taken to reduce the amount of panhandling in the city? They're at every main intersection. Their intersections are full of them, and some are aggressive when they're being told that they're not going to provide money to them. Not to mention, some will walk into traffic, almost causing accidents or just generally impeding traffic.
I can take this one. I think it's timely. And so I'll start off by saying that we can't outlaw panhandling. The Supreme Court's made it very clear that soliciting things of value, soliciting money, is protected under the First Amendment. So, and we don't want to violate somebody's constitutional rights. What we do want to do is make things safer for both them and for everybody else in the city. And so on Monday, August 5th, this coming Monday, we're presenting several ordinances to be voted on by City Council. And two of them are concerning this. So one of them is our solicitation ordinance. And what that does is it in my opinion, addresses the things that we're seeing that are the biggest problem. So aggressive solicitation that's happening at our stores, our gas stations, our parks, where people are asking or panhandling and they're being aggressive. They're not letting people get in their cars or out of their cars or get to the store. They're threatening them. And that has to stop. Private property obviously has the right to refuse any type of solicitation. So that's in the ordinance. And then the other part of that is the roadway stuff. So what we're trying to do is limit the time, manner, and place where people are soliciting or really doing anything in the roadways, because we've seen this huge increase in pedestrian crashes and especially pedestrian fatalities, unfortunately. And it's generally the pedestrian that's leaving the sidewalk or median in front of traffic, not the vehicle's fault. And so this ordinance would just restrict it so people have to be in areas that are safe to do that. And it's still constitutional, but we're trying to make it safer.
And I will say, what can businesses do in the meantime? You talked about private property. Is there anything that businesses can do now to help better the police officers and how to do their job?
Yeah, under the current ordinance and under the new ordinance, on private property, people can post a no solicitation sign. So a sign that says no solicitation. And that lets the officer know that that private property does not want people soliciting on the property. So if we see somebody soliciting on the property, we already know that it's not allowed by the business. And under the ordinance, we have reasonable suspicion to contact that person and tell them that they can't be doing.
Okay. And one last question. You mentioned that there's going to be city ordinances that get proposed. Is there a specific time for that, or is that open to the public?
It is. It'll be at the normal city council meeting August 5th at 1 o'clock. It'll start, and they'll be heard. They'll be on the agenda somewhere, so it probably won't be right at 1 o'clock, but sometime during that meeting.
And we do have a comment here that says, Chief Story, you're doing a good job. Please keep up the great work. So we appreciate that. All right. So I don't believe there's any other questions in the meantime. And we do want to bring up the fact that every Bridging the Badge episode is happening every Tuesday or the last Tuesday of every month. And please tune in at 5:30. We want to do our best to continue building these relationships with the police, with the community, because this is exactly what's going to help us reach our goals a lot quicker. We definitely have resources that are going to be presented to our department here in the near future. There's definitely going to be opportunities for the public to get involved. So we look forward to getting a chance to work with you and continue to build this relationship with the community. I apologize. We just got one more question that says, could there be more officers on bicycles? Can we do more outreach?
Yes. You guys obviously spend a lot of time on bikes, the community outreach officers. I enjoy spending a lot of time on my bike as a young officer. The way we do it in this department is every single uniform officer has the ability to go through a police bike course, get issued a bicycle, and then they can have it on the back of their car, they can have it at the station, and they jump on it whenever they can, basically whenever they want to. So part of the problem is because of the call volume, especially lately, and being short officers more than we would like, it limits the amount of time that people can get out there on their bikes. But the goal is definitely to increase that. And I think we can be creative in other ways to do it. But as we reduce call volume and increase officers, we definitely want to spend more time out there on our bikes.
And it definitely make it more accessible to the public, right? So we're driving through a neighborhood, we may not get a chance to stop and have that conversation, versus if we're on bicycles, we're more approachable and the community is able to have conversations or address concerns at that time. All right, so just to remind everybody, we do have National Night Out happening this upcoming Tuesday. And it's going to be in the downtown plaza. And we encourage anybody to come out here, get a chance not only to interact with the Las Cruces Police Department, but there's going to be a ton of agencies out there, different organizations. We'd love for you guys to come out, get a chance to learn a little bit more about us. We're going to have some of our equipment out there, so you'll get a chance to become more familiar with some of the tools that we have available. Is there anything else you may want to add?
No, thank you for the opportunity. We appreciate it. And as always, if you have more questions or need insight, feel free to email us or call us or stop by.
Thank you very much for the opportunity.
Oh, first, thank you for the support from the community, individuals, the businesses, everybody. It's really been felt this year in the midst of all the tragedy and hardship. And also thank you to Officer Rodriguez and Community Outreach. I appreciate you guys taking this concept and running with it. Even more, I appreciate all the stuff that you guys are doing. It truly is making a difference. And I appreciate you guys taking all the stuff I throw at you, which is most of my problems go community outreach solid, that you guys do. So I keep giving it to you.
Thank you. Yeah, and we appreciate that. Like I said, it's something that's definitely a team effort. We definitely don't do it by ourselves. We reach out to other officers, different sections, because we're limited on how much time we can be out here at work. Obviously, we rely on each other. And as a department, we try to alleviate some of these problems and help each other so we make it easier for everyone. But thank you. We appreciate that. All right. So again, the next Bridging the Badge will be August the 27th. Again, please tune in at 5:30. In a minute, we're going to be able to provide email address so that if you want to address anything or have any other questions that we can maybe follow up on, it'll come up here shortly. But again, thank you again. And we appreciate the continued support.